Now let's start with the next one, and the question is, how would you tell if a product is performing well or not? What would be the criteria? What would be the metrics you will use to evaluate whether a given product which we have built recently is performing well or not, or does it meeting our business expectations or not? So you need to provide a solution, or provide an approach or a thought process to judge or to decide or to evaluate the performance of a product. As we see on the problem statement, it's just saying that we need to evaluate the performance of the product, but it doesn't mention, what kind of a product is it. So the good thing is that maybe you can again ask the clarifying question with the interviewer. Is there any specific product which they are thinking, or they are free to choose any product? So let's say that we have decided to test a product called camera integration on a Facebook page. So let's assume that Facebook has recently launched a camera on their web page. Through the camera, people can share their live stream, their photos, videos with their friends and the family. And the goal of this project is to, let's say, to understand how well this integration or a camera is behaving. Does it improving the user experience, which is leading to increase in customer acquisition of new customers, as well as increase engagement for existing users, because this feature will help us to share some interesting or creative user generated pics for the people. So let me reiterate the goal of this use case. So the goal of this project is to understand how well this integration can improve the user experience and leads to increase in the new customer acquisition, as well as increase the engagement for the existing users or the new users. Now, as we learned that after defining the goal, it's important to define hypothesis, because that is very important to define the hypothesis. So some of the hypothesis would be, hey, after integrating this camera, is the new users are increasing or not? Are we seeing an increase in the new set of users? So we can compare the trends on the timelines before this feature and after the features. Is there any increase in the percentage before and after? We can also see another thing that after introducing this new feature, does the engagement of the users have increased or not? Maybe we can use like a metric like calculating the average time spent by user on a Facebook page. We can also see that how many number of times our users are using this new feature. That would be very important to see that how many number of times users are using this particular feature. We can also see that is this new feature is popular among some different specific age buckets, like maybe between 18 to 25 it might be very popular because we have seen a lot of engagement or average time or a number of usage. So that would be interesting to see that if any this feature is popular among different age buckets, or maybe in a specific regions of the world. We can also see some of the qualitative analysis, like what is the positive or a negative feedback from the users through star ratings or through some comments. And another interesting thing we can check is there any specific feature which is very important in the camera, like maybe filters or cropping or sharing or caption and so on. And this is how we can define our hypothesis. So once we have defined the hypothesis, so the next step is to write down the metrics. What are the metrics we will use to evaluate our hypothesis? So some of the metrics what we can use is like total number of times people are using this camera feature every day. So what is the engagement level? How much on an average people are spending on a camera? How many people are using the camera on a daily basis? Is there is a shift, or is there is an increase in the trend before and the after, about the engagement level? Another thing what we can do is find the topmost feature used in the camera. Is it like a filters or a crop or a caption? And at the same time we can also see what is the least used feature in the camera. We can use find the top rating for the quality of the images what this camera is taking. We can also see one of the metric like find the sum of total users and average time spent on different age buckets or different geography. We can also check that how much time on average camera takes in responding in different time periods. So it might happen that between 12 to 3 a.m. it takes only some milliseconds to respond when somebody click on the camera, or it might happen during 6 to 12 during the peak hours. The camera takes like 2 seconds to respond. So that is very important feature, because if camera is taking like 3 seconds or 4 seconds to respond, then this might not be a good user friendly experience. So we want to make sure that this should be a minimum time when it comes to respond across different time periods of the day. And we can also see that is there any increase in the engagement or acquisition of new users between before and the after. So that is also important to see, are we seeing any shift in increase in the number of new users before and after, because it might happen through mouth publicity or through some marketing, that new users are very attracted because of this new feature, and they decided to register on the company's web page so that they can also use this feature, take the images and the photos and share with their families and the friends in the network. So now once you have defined the metrics, the next step is how will you going to evaluate this new feature. So I can say that, hey, in the production environment, I can evaluate or deploy through A/B testing. Now through this A/B testing, what we will do is to split the population between, let's say, 90% and 10%. So 90% of the people will not see this new feature, but the other 10% of the people will see this new feature of camera integration. And the selection of this 10% is very important. This should be as random as possible, as diverse as possible. Maybe diversity could be different age groups or geography, or old active users or new users or different geography. So that is very important, because we don't want to fall into any kind of a selection bias, and we should not get biased with our results. So it's very important that this 10% should be as random as possible, as diverse as possible. Now once we have split the population between 90% and 10%, now this 10% people will be evaluated based on top level metric, because we want to see how this 10% people are behaving. So some of the top level metric we can use to evaluate the A/B testing results is like total number of times camera have been used in a day. So that is important, whether this 10% people are they using the camera or not, how many times they are using the camera, average time spent on the camera, like how much on an average they are spending on the camera, how well this camera is responding. Again, the response time is very important, whether it's take 1 second, 2 second, 5 second, what kind of a quality of the image is coming up, whether it's a good quality image or very low standard quality image. So image quality is also very important. How easy to share these images between different set of groups. Then again, another important survey feedback from this 10% user, which we can take through star rating or comments. Now the next question is, how long do we need to go with this A/B testing? We can say that this testing can go for 3 to 6 weeks, and once we get the statistically significant results and we feel that this feature has made a good lift in engagement level or a new user level and is meeting some of the business objective, then we can migrate this whole product for the 100% of the population. Then all the users on the company's web page will start seeing this new camera integration feature. So the challenge would be, there are a lot of apps are there, a lot of competitors apps are there where they have an inbuilt camera feature which is quite popular. And if you're not able to match or meet the expectations of the user through this camera integration feature, this might lead to some cannibalizing the user base. It might impact some other products of the company as well. So we wanted to make sure this camera should be very high quality when it comes to meeting the standards of the company, because any lack in the expectations, or if the feature is not meeting the user's expectation, it might leads to impact or harm some other products as well. Because it might happen that, hey, users will say that, hey, I'm not liking this feature, and because of this feature I just want to move to some different competitors. So there is a good chance that cannibalizing of user base as well. So we want to make sure that this camera should be a very high quality. And finally, what is the conclusion of the whole solution? So the conclusion would be, the goal of the project is to integrate the new feature camera integration on the web page So the objective is to attract new customer as well as increase the user engagement level. And we will evaluate this new feature through A/B testing, and then compare the results of the A/B testing through our top level metrics. And if this top level metrics meet the expectations of the users, then we will make this product or a new feature available for all whole user base, or the 100% of the user base. And lastly and importantly, this camera integration feature should match with the user expectations, because this feature is very popular in different apps as well, and we want to make sure that we exceed that expectation, exceed the standard what we have set for the company, else it can harm our user base or cannibalize some of our other products as well.